To kick the night off, we are going to come with my friend Bonin Bough, the founder and CEO of Mouth Media in New York City, which is the biggest podcast program for B2B content. So he's about to be dropping knowledge, so y'all give it up for Bonin.
Check, check, check. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me, and thanks for that applause. My name is Bonin. I am a co-founder of Mouth Media Network. It is the largest podcast network that focuses on B2B content. So that means that we have different podcasts for different industries, fashion, beauty, travel, music, real estate, so on and so forth. So definitely check it out. Today we are doing I am doing an interview for a new podcast series that is yet to launch. We piloted it in Art Basel with legendary hip-hop photographer Jonathan Mannion, and it is called Bellwether Culture Podcast. Anyone know Jonathan Mannion? I heard a hell yeah. Good shit. So Bellwether is about really re-identifying what an influencer is. More than just social media, we're talking about bellwethers are people that galvanize communities and push culture forward. So that's why we are here with the one and only Mr. Bonin Bough. So Bonin, considered one of the top mobile marketers in the world. He's named Mobile Marketer of the Year in 2013. He was inducted into the American Advertising Federation's Advertising Hall of Achievement. That's a lot. He has been featured in Fortune's 40 Under 40, Fast Company's 100 Most Creative People in Business, Adweek's 50, PR Week's Power List, and Ebony's Power 100. Everybody, give it up for Mr. Bonin Bough. I don't know, man. Let's do one of these. Do you want to face each other? You want to go separate?
I want to stare at you. I want to stare at these.
Sorry, Frank. Sorry, Frank. I know there's tape on the ground.
I can sit here. Okay.
No, but I gotta face you.
Okay.
So we're gonna do that.
All right.
How's that?
It's good.
Cozy?
Yeah.
All right, so this is recorded down for the podcast, so this is going to be a live environment. We want to show people that we are here at South by Southwest at InflectionCon, sponsored and powered by Microsoft for Startups. So at some points, I'm going to cue by raising my hand, and that gives the audience the participation of being in the track and just kind of hoot and holler, clap, whatever you want to do, but show us some love. We want to show everybody on the airwaves that we are in a live, beautiful, beautiful audience, right?
Yeah, I love it.
That's what's up. Let's give a quick practice round and go right here at the top. Let me see how you could get some energy in this room.
What's up?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Boom.
Those in the back, don't stand in the back. Come to the front. I'm going to call on you. Trust me. Especially this guy right here who's trying to ignore
Amanda Parks,
me.
I see you in the back. Called on you.
Bring it in, Amanda.
All right.
I mean, come on, dude. The weather's amazing. We're at South by. I love this place, man.
Feels
I
like
couldn't
vacation
be more happy.
right now. All right, so we're going to try that one more time. Give me a round of applause for Bonin Bough.
All right, we're going to get louder than that.
All right,
later.
so welcome to the Bellwether Culture Podcast. I am Bonin Bough, and I am here with Bonin Bough. We are at South by Southwest InflectionCon, powered by Microsoft for Startups. So the way that we're going to structure this podcast, we're going to go through kind of your journey.
Okay.
As a professional, we're going to cut to break, which is really just a quick snap, so we could edit in between.
Okay.
And then second half, we're just going to go deep into a little bit more questions, particularly around you and your community building and movement behind and forward of Bonin Bough.
Okay.
So, early on, what you guys may not have known, or some of you may, with Bonin, he started his foray, I guess, into entrepreneurship when he was very, very young. Definitely had a very supportive family of being entrepreneurial spirited and business minded. He started a publication called What! Exclamation when you were, maybe 12, 13 years old?
My team gave him these answers, so I didn't know we were going to bring that up. But okay, yes.
Well, we're starting.
What?
No, let's be serious. Google gave me all the answers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, good for Google. I got to have a conversation with this Google person when I'm done.
So you were 12 or 13 years old, right?
I was 12.
What? And what was an acronym for Washington Heights Action Teens? Now, for those that don't know, Washington Heights is a neighborhood in Upper Manhattan. And the idea of this was really to tell or to showcase different activities and things that kids in upper neighborhoods of New York City can get involved in. I thought it was really interesting that it's one thing to have a publication. And honestly, I ran a publication that really went nowhere earlier on, right? It takes a lot to just not only have good content, but get it out there. At the age of 12 or 13, you not only had the publication, but you got it out there in every single public school that was relevant to your audience and had it distributed to all of their students through that. What did you learn from that early foray into business?
It's hard. No. Yeah. Wow, I haven't talked about that maybe ever, really.
Here we are.
Here we go. What's interesting was that, you said I had a very supportive family. My mom was very supportive. There was a need in the school system I grew up in Washington Heights, and this was in a time when, this is the crack era where, you would walk. My parents, actually what happened was my father was a photographer, my mom ran the studio. They were living happily ever after, and then they were not, and they got separated. My mom moved uptown. My dad got separated, and we lived with my grandmother, my uncle, my aunt, until my mom got on her feet, and then we got a place on 159th Street in Edgecombe, and this was during the time when, there was not a lot going on up there, and it was, it was rough. It was rough days during that time. This is the middle of Harlem, and for me, I got lucky. I found a group of friends, and we wanted to figure out how we could figure out what to do beyond just, I guess, get in trouble.
That's safe. It's enjoyable.
That's safe and enjoyable. Yeah. And we came up with this concept. And I got lucky to pitch it to the Board of Regents. So I was the youngest person to ever present to the New York State Board of Regents. And they really saw this as an opportunity to energize and inspire the kids in schools, not just provide activities. And at that time, there was a big movement, Youth for Youth, really like youth empowering youth. Again, New York was really bad during this time. And so I guess the biggest, and I was inspired by that. I think I spent maybe 4 days out of the week every night going to these youth groups up and down New York City and borough after borough, really talking about but also just engaging in conversation with other 12-year-olds that wanted to move their neighborhoods forward, from the South Bronx to, Brooklyn, to you name it. And I guess what I really learned there was that it's a lot of hard work, but anything that you are going to really be successful at, you have to be truly passionate about. And the other thing is you can't underestimate the importance of shaking a person's hand. And I think that, sometimes we don't put in the work to go meet people, to go have conversations, to realize that for every 10 conversations you have, one, and I think people want stuff tomorrow.
How many of these magazines were distributed?
I don't even know, man. I think we had 7 or 8 issues. Yeah. We had, at the time, Foot and Davies, which was the publisher of Sports Illustrated, actually published it for a very discounted price as kind of like a nonprofit play. So, we had an editorial team which was distributed across the school systems. Mm-hmm. But there was, the internet was not a thing, although computers, but really wasn't a thing. So we would mail back and forth articles and editorial changes over the mail.
Together.
Yeah, so.
And now, so moving on, ninth grade, which is shortly after that. I think 12 or 13, you're probably 7th, 8th grade. So going into ninth grade now, you entered a tax accounting firm where you digitized their tax department in an accounting firm. So now you earned the title of junior partner of an accounting firm at the age of 13? What is this? Ninth grade, so 15?
I guess. Wow. These are hard questions, dude. I haven't gone this far back in the grades and forever.
No. I want to ask you this. So when you were there, right, you were probably kind of going there.
Well, the funny thing was this thing called the computer had arrived. And these tax guys were like, the computer, never going to be worth anything. And there was this thing called FX, which was this new software that was going to transform accounting. And they were like, we're skeptical. Let the young kid do it. And so I'm over here doing people's taxes, which is I'm clearly not old enough or qualified to do this. And they're like, we'll just stick with this pencil because this is much more accurate than that computer thing. And the benefit of it was, they gave me a title, but the real benefit was that I really, I had been doing computers for many years, but I really got a chance to work in a corporate environment and kind of understand what the notion of being an executive was at that time, the notion of client service, having to work in an organization with people, having to get consensus, although I'm 12, so they're like, here's the consensus. Shut up and do what we say. Yes, I agree, too. Yeah.
Was this project directed by them, or is this something that you suggested to the company?
Originally, I actually came in to fix they were having trouble with DOS and X-Tree Gold at the time. And so originally I came in to kind of help fix their computer system. It was through a friend, and it was weekend work, and I was going to redo their computer network, and then somehow they had this boxes of software, and I was talking to one of the partners who was like, what's that? He's like, some stuff that's supposed to do taxes, but we just need more pencils. And yeah.
Do y'all see where I'm going with this?
I don't. Please, somebody help him land the plane.
Can I get a yeah? Can I get a little snap or something like that over there from the audience? Okay. So now let's take it to college.
Okay. Jesus.
So college.
How long you guys got? We're going to be here for a while.
No, I mean, it's going to be quick. This one I'm not going to speak. Okay, I'll breeze through
I'm teasing. Go
so
ahead.
in college, you were with Rooter Interactive.
No, in college, I actually started a web company with my college roommate, still business partner today, Jeremiah. We did the first Jordache website. I can still hear it in the back of the Jordache look, working, playing, day or night, Jordache has the look that's right. Okay.
Kill it.
I can keep going, yeah, right? And we did the first Soccer Hall of Fame website, and it was interesting. And then we sold that business when we graduated college. But I went to college for physics and political science and fell in love with philosophy. And came out, and I was supposed to go to graduate school for political philosophy. And I came out, and that summer I just wanted to freelance program, make some cash, you know what I'm saying, like everybody else. So I had a freelance programming, went to a party, and it was like a vodka fountain. And then it was like a shrimp boat. And people were like, this is how all interactive parties were. I was like, I love interactive. Let's do that. It was like the heyday of the internet. I was like, this internet is amazing. Yeah. And then I decided to push off graduate school, and I ended up at Rooter Finn. And they said, hey, we want to build a digital practice. And I got lucky. They brought another guy in. We co-founded this digital practice. The internet collapsed. But what was great was we had a lot of pharmaceutical work. So, drug, sex, rock, and roll. Apparently, everybody writes checks no matter how bad the economy is. And we got lucky enough to keep our pharmaceutical business that kept us afloat. And while everybody else was collapsing, we began to pick up that business. I began to open up offices around the world because none of them, Scott didn't want to travel. He had a young family at the time. So I opened up San Francisco. I opened up Europe. I opened up China, Asia. And we really grew this. At one point in time, we were the largest makers of intranets, if anybody remembers what an intranet is.
How old are you right now?
This is young. This was 20. I think I left there at 26, or 27 maybe. But I was so young. I'll tell you this. I used to have to lie to clients about my age. Yeah. I have a really good friend, Leanne Venemeyer. She was our very first client that we had won on our own. I flew out to San Francisco. We pitched this business. We won it, and I literally had to lie to her. I lied to her for 7 years of my life, all the way up until I left Rooter Finn about my age, sadly. But she knew, though. She knew. She was just...
And after Rooter, basically, we're going to go into Weber, right? So Weber Shandwick. Is it Weber? Weber
Shandwick.
Weber
So I actually went to go work for IPG for their media lab and ran their investment for a little bit, and then I went to Weber Shandwick to build a digital practice.
And over here, now the goal was to target consumers on 3 screens. Now mobile was kind of
I had a big name. We were going to come in and change it, and we were calling it Screen Grab.
Screen Grab, yes.
And it was 3 screens. It was way too early for that. People were like, what? What's a phone?
Well, that's the point, though. It was really early for that. So
really early.
I mean, did you have to push that through, and how did you?
Anything you have to push it through. Yeah, I tried to, yes, I had to push it through, but the reality is we were too early and not positioned to really grab that kind of business. But what was great was that I remember I was telling people last night, we pitched the Girl Scout cookies, or even better. We pitched, it was like Remax or one of these guys, and I was like, look, here's what's going to happen. Your agents are going to put postings of real estate on the web, and people are going to look at it and not have to go visit the property and then and they were like, no way. People love visiting that's part of the process, getting to go to every single property and then sit down with the broker and speak to him. They love it. Yes, because I have nothing better to do in my life but go see. Yeah, and so they were like, sorry, no.
I mean, that's the same reason luxury didn't go into e-com for so long.
Yeah, there's a lot of these examples that I'm sure a lot of people can. So yes, it was early days for, I think, a lot of stuff. Multi-screen was way too early.
With the multi-screen, though, what tremors did you observe that you decided that, regardless of whether it was early or too early or not, what were the tremors? Yeah, why? What did you observe that made this something that you want to pursue?
I'm a firm believer that that the wins are one where you see consumer patterns changing, but investment doesn't go into it. So if I came into your office in the 1950s and I said, yo, I really want you to invest in this thing called television. You say, get out of my office, this thing called radio. But P&G, Unilever, and Kraft saw that consumer consumption eclipse where investment was. And when you find those deltas...
It was cheap.
That's when it wasn't that it was cheap, but it was underinvested.
Exactly right.
It was underinvested.
That's what I mean by cheap,
yeah.
I guess, right?
And so you could win share. And so when you see that kind of consumer behavior, I mean, for those of you who know right now, we're bullish on messaging. I mean, that's where the most amount of human attention is today. If anybody's following Zuckerberg's most recent kind of rant on looking like WeChat or kind of really collapsing the messaging, we've been making that call for 3 years, and that's what we've been investing. I think we have the largest portfolio in the space right now. But consumers shift, and eventually, if you can find that delta, you can create advantage, but eventually investment will finally catch up with it.
We're going to quickly leapfrog now to PepsiCo.
Okay.
So at PepsiCo, I would say like the overall arching theme of your time there was really championing digital initiatives for the brand, right?
Yeah.
You guys want to be the authority and just run and own digital, right? So in 2008, you created the first real-time marketing program with Gatorade Control, and then you also started the first corporate accelerator in PepsiCo 10, which was a startup generator.
Yep. So Peps 10 was actually, it was a startup accelerator. Startups meet brands. Mm-hmm. I know it sounds cliche now, everybody's doing it, but this was the first. And then I also built the first war room, which was mission control, which was, where you had TVs and you could see in real time and you had 5 people sitting around. But I think actually, since we're sitting here, the thing I did the most, so it's funny, the very first time I came to South by, this is my 15th year here, the very first time I came here was, I had won a People's Choice Award working at Ruder Finn for a thing we did called Mr. Picasso Head. And, at that time, half of the convention center was used for interactive. It wasn't really anywhere close to the scale or size it is. But what I felt was kind of this constant collision of new ideas and thinking and inspiration and excitement. And for the next 5 or so years, I kept trying on the agency side to get a brand to come and sponsor, and they didn't. And so when I got to Pepsi, I couldn't talk them into it. When I got to Pepsi, I decided that I was going to sponsor South by Southwest, right? And you have to understand, at that time, there were no other non-endemic brands. So it was Microsoft, LinkedIn. There was no consumer brands. We were literally the first consumer brand to sponsor. And I'll never forget, there's a guy named Frank Cooper who was CMO of Sparkling. Many of you know him, a legend in our industry. And when I first got to Pepsi in September, I said, what should you do? So what should I do? Like, what advice? He said, look, you just need to put points on the board. Like, don't focus on anything else. Just put points on the board and begin to show the organization that you can move the world forward. We had done a couple of things in between there, but then it was coming down to South by. And again, when we sponsored, we did all 3 events, interactive music and film for $150,000, and it was 6 brands across all of them. And we really brought a lot of how do you make sure you do no harm? How do you add real value to the festival? So we did the PepsiCo Zeitgeist, which was how do you find events? Because I remember as I was growing up, coming to South by, you couldn't find where to go, what to go listen to, that kind of stuff. Anyway, we did a really great job. Our big activation was Pepsi Podcast Playground, which is these little pods where people could record podcasts in. And then the big thing was we provided outlets for electricity around a bar. And people were like, oh my God, I can plug my phone in. It was like, woo! Because I remember seeing people huddled. People used to bring their own power strips, and they were like your best friend because you could find them in the hallway and plug your laptop in. And so we decided to do that. But I got back when we had we crushed it here. And I got back, and Frank, I'll never forget, I still had this on my phone. He called me up and he left a message on my voicemail. I guess I wasn't there. And he said, I said put points on the board, not hit home runs. And I had that for my entire time working at Pepsi on my machine.
Well, home runs, because that extension was worth millions and millions now.
I was the 8th largest sponsor here. We did this for 5 years. This was really, we called it the Davos of digital, but this was really the place where we could come and showcase to the industry that we understood how to leverage technology to move an organization forward and open our doors to some of the brightest and smartest minds on planet Earth to come in and explore what that journey should look like with us. And we took this really seriously. Like, for us, if we couldn't come here and show something that was, really moving, it was a frustrating moment for us. We needed to do something because we felt that we were the shepherds of a lot of this.
Investing in early stage technologies is often a lot of executives, especially then, would make it a pretty risky bet, right? So I'm wondering, what resistance or bottlenecks that you had to overcome internally over at Pepsi to get that mission through. This is specifically around having a startup idea generator.
Yeah, there was a lot. So, all these organizations, they want innovation, but in reality, they want incrementality. And when they say innovation, wait a second, is that innovation? Get it, kill it, get the innovation, kill it. And so we had to take things and protect them. But where we really failed, and I think Pep 10, while it was successful, was actually a failure to my standards, was that I didn't really care necessarily about getting ideas through the organization. What I always care about is, how do you open up and change the minds of the people who work at the organization and help them be inspired and to accomplish things they never thought possible, and give them the space that they want to be able to drive innovation. And so we matched all these startups with brands, and I was like, yes, we did it. And then they were like, okay, go work with our agency. And I was like, look, I love our agencies, but I wanted you to experience what it was like to work with a startup and kind of that energy and that thinking. And then we also didn't give guaranteed funding. So they were like, hey, welcome to Pep 10. Here's $2. Go build some innovation. Or, we didn't give a timeline. So sometimes the projects lingered for 12 months. And so when I got to Mondelez, I changed that. And we launched Mobile Futures. And we did 3 things, which was, 1, you had to bring the startup to life in 90 days. 2, you had guaranteed funding. And 3, the participants had to go and work for the startups for a week. Same concept, And I'll tell you, it's interesting. Every single one of them came back from the immersion. They all said the same thing. They said, Bonin, should we go and work for a startup? And I was like, no, you should not do that, because I'll get fired. Focus. But imagine taking what you learned and applying it. Sorry, back to Pepsi, sorry.
No, let's go to Mondelez, man.
Sure.
You were the youngest C-suite executive of any billion-dollar or Fortune 500 company on the planet. Let's give him up for that. Yo, for real.
Thank you.
That's 34 years old.
At the time, though,
young.
I was like, now they own them that age.
What were you thinking, though? Honestly, what was the...
what was the scariest?
That for the first day, what were you thinking?
What was the scariest was when I was told that I was the highest-ranking African American inside the organization, and what it made me begin to realize is that we don't provide platforms for the acceleration of growth of people who sit inside of organizations like we should. And for me, it's really always been about how do we provide the best opportunity to have the best talents and minds be able to execute. Here's the deal: is many of these organizations, at the end of the day, every single one of them says they aspire for growth, but the reality is none of them really resource behind growth. So I just read the other day, my former employer, right now they spend 4.5% of total revenue on advertising. Let's just, for all intents and purposes, say advertising is customer acquisition costs, right? If any startup that I was investing in came to me and said, we're only going to spend 4.5% on acquiring the customers that are going to drive our business, good luck. Don't come and talk to me. But yet, and then they go, we want growth. But the reality is, if you look over the last decade, they've all flatlined. And that's because aspirations without allocations are meaningless. So they're not willing to allocate the time, effort, and resources because it means hard work. It's really hard work. It means shutting down things that don't work, and it means giving people who are hungry the opportunity to show them where the organization can go. I used to get told all the time, if you're not in these four walls, Bonin, you're not working.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
And I'm like, dude, if I'm in these four walls, I'm not working. Like, what's in these four walls other than the same exact idea? It's like frogs in a pot of boiling water. We're like, is it hot in here?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Ah, we're dead. That's what I'm saying.
Let me just say, we're putting in some work right now. I was over at Shop Talk, which is a retail technology conference, just prior to this. So I came straight to Austin from Vegas. And, PSFK, which is like a trend or data, like marketing analysis kind of.
Pierce is here. We had him over last night.
Oh, Pierce is here? Okay, good deal. So, yeah, Pierce actually hosted like a small kind of.
He's got another one Sunday at 10. Is that conflicting with you?
No.
Sunday at 10. Sorry.
So what Pierce did, so PSFK held kind of like this little kind of brain trust conversation amongst different investors and brands and things like that. And that's what one of the conversations that sparked big time is that, look, if you're not investing in like the internal culture of innovation, there's no way you could go anywhere, because as a startup, if I'm now pitching and I'm going through your process, and then within 3 or 4 months, half the team or the entire team that I was talking to turned over because they don't believe it or they're not getting funding to actually execute and pilot and do these things, you get nowhere. You actually burn through the startup's time and money, and you're also fucking yourself. Like it's a real thing to be able to go into a company and actually inspire them to. Well,
it's a real thing to get it through, and that's why you have to understand the nature of the organization, which is why we want to bring the future together in 90 days. You got to understand, like, most people sit in a job for 18 months and then they rotate out. So the real thing that happens is it's like the decisions I make today, most likely I won't even be there to finish seeing all the way through tomorrow. And the next person comes in, no matter how good the idea is, they're like, nope, not mine.
Well, no, I also
but
have
that
to
is
settle
the
in.
reality, though. So
they just have to settle in too. Like, forget about that. Like, they have to be there from the conversation day one to be inspired, to be on board with
That's a good point.
implementing and investing in this technology, right? Otherwise, it's like, why the fuck am I going to put my neck out for this guy, right?
100%.
These kids. So anyhow, okay, I'm going to breeze through real quick because I want to go into a break so we could actually get a little bit dirty for the next 10, 15 minutes that we have left, right?
Okay.
All right, so.
Let's get dirty.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
So I don't even know what that means either. It came out. So you created some of the first marketing programs across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You collaborated with companies like Foursquare and BuzzFeed, and at the time they were not these huge conglomerates that they are today.
Anybody in here, big Foursquare users? Anybody raise your hands?
They're killing
Okay, wow, sorry, Foursquare. There's a couple. One in the back. Did you ever have the I'm on a boat sticker? No? Jesus Christ. Anyway, we created the I'm on a boat sticker. We did so just the Foursquare, we did the first ever marketing program with Foursquare, and we actually helped do their launch here at South by. We did a huge launch with them here. Nice. But we did it on a boat, and I thought it was so slick because every single day I would wake up and go to work, and I'd ride up to FDR, and I'd see the PepsiCo sign, and it would be like, and it would like pump me up to go to Pepsi. And so one day I was like, we should do a party on a boat with Foursquare, and we could ride up to the sign and people would check in at the Pepsi sign. Cool. Yep. And as a result of it, they created the on a boat sticker. Clearly not a big win at South by, but big to me.
So real quick, by the time you left Mondelez, which again is craft brands, right, for everybody here, you had added $2 billion. Not
according to the stock price, so let's just keep that separate for right now.
Well, for now, you added, back in the day, you had added $2 billion of incremental net revenue to its top line. Unbelievable stuff. Bonin, we talked a lot about your background now. I hope I established in the front part that you really are a forward-thinking trailblazer that has used your access into corporate circles to really promote and encourage innovation from both sides of the coin. A lot of folks here that are here for South by Southwest, they're also trailblazers. They're generally presenting ideas and technology that has not been seen before or that is quite foreign to their prospective audiences or potential partners and things of that nature. How do you have specific tactics that you use personally that helps inspire, encourage the things that you're looking to advocate for? Like,
how many people in here actually are tech startups? Just raise your hand. Okay, cool. Woo! Yes!
So for those that are listening to this, about half of the crowd raise their hand.
Half the audience. How many people in here first time at South by? Raise your hand. Wow. Okay, like the whole audience. Good luck. Clearly, you came to the wrong thing. So of the guys that are first time and tech startups, I guess this is really only day 2. Are you guys fine? What did you guys come here basically to try to find that opportunity to break out? I'm guessing. Raise your hand, or was it just what are some of the reasons? Shout out. Networking. What else? Curiosity. Is there anybody who came? I want to learn some new technical skill sets. Just curious. No, not really. So networking, curiosity, to meet business opportunities. I mean, to get a shot at an opportunity, or okay. It's interesting. The reason why I ask is because, South by historically was bands, and it was artists trying to come here to meet people who could, transform their career. Then film and interactive has really taken off. But everybody asked me, what do you think of South by? What do you think of South by? What I think of South by is it's one of the best events on planet Earth because it still allows people who have dreams, hopes, and aspirations, like who are sitting in this crowd, the opportunity to collide with people who might be able to help transform their business. So I'm happy to see new blood and fresh people here. But the other thing I think is that we also have an obligation to remember that that's why we're here, which is to meet new ideas and to meet new people who can change the way that we think. And I think so much is that as events become bigger, we tend to cluster with the same people who we know, and that doesn't really help expand ideas. So to answer your question, the way I think you get things through organizations is by really having new thoughts and not necessarily just more of the same.
How do you think you've amassed such support and community around you?
By listening to every single person. Everybody's idea is important to me. Everybody's idea is an opportunity to change the world, and by trying my hardest to bring people's dreams to life and try to figure out. Most people, I tell them, look, most likely I'm going to figure out how to work with you. It might not be the way that you envision it, because things might have to adjust or change or something in order for it to fit into a way that I think I can actually help or get it done. But my dream and my hopes are to help every single person. And so I think my community is aware that I really care about that, and I care about just doing great stuff, man.
You do care about doing great stuff, and you have done great stuff, and you continue to actually support other people doing great stuff. So through Cleveland Hustles, which is a fantastic program, which is the brainchild of LeBron James, and you use that show to essentially, the goal of that show, or the mission of that show, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to really revitalize Cleveland through these young, ambitious, really intelligent people.
Entrepreneur. Usually I correct you when you said brainchild of LeBron, but it's LeBron, so I got to let that slide. No. That was really about revitalizing neighborhoods by investing in entrepreneurs, but also helping small businesses. So, small businesses are the lifeblood of communities. Thank you. Small businesses are the lifeblood of communities. They make America great, and they help keep our kids safe. They help make our schools better. And if you go through Middle America today, or if you go through America today, you'll sadly realize that small businesses are under attack. In fact, 10% less small business will be created today versus last year, and 80% of small businesses fail in the first 18 months for two reasons. One, they don't have access to capital. We don't realize how hard the credit crunch in 2008 was, and still capital markets have not unlocked, and even scarier, this predatory lending that is now beginning to happen at scale, which is a nightmare to me. We have to figure out capital, which is, we did deploy capital, but two, which is the most important thing, and what we've tried to do in training and education, is they don't know how to grow. And so our biggest message to small businesses is just because you're a small business doesn't mean that you need to think small. And so we took a bagel company, which the guy's dream was to create bagels, and he quit his job. He slept in his car. He woke up at 4 a.m, cooked bagels in a shared kitchen, delivered them right afterwards, got too big that he couldn't keep doing it straight from the kitchen, borrowed a friend's freezer, froze the bagels, learned how to make a frozen bagel that tasted as good frozen as it did fresh, or almost as good. And, when we met them, he wanted to open a bagel store. I said, yes, we're going to open a bagel store. But you know what? The frozen bagel market hadn't been disrupted in forever,
Lenders.
And there's two brands, and it's a $480 million market. So we got him on an airplane. We flew him out to meet with Box, Che, the CEO. They did a head-to-head taste testing with New York Bagels. They actually won, which I was like, wow, I was nervous. Because Che brought it out of nowhere. I was like, dude, I'm the one shooting the reality show, not you. You're not supposed to throw curveballs in here. And so they won, and they got a national distribution deal, which basically took them from selling a truckload of bagels a month to a truckload of bagels a day, transforming their business, but more importantly, employing people in local areas and bringing jobs back to that community. So.
And from Cleveland Hustles, we're going on to Bonin Ventures. Now, you have how many companies in your portfolio today?
We lose count. I don't know.
Ish, 20 to 25
Justine's
to 30.
in here. She's been, she came in to like make it all work and bring some intelligence to it. Yeah, there's in that range. We have a baby food business, Tiny Organics, in the back.
Oh.
Hello, Sophia, also my wife, but yes. Which is text to buy, all natural, organic baby food. The crazy thing is that, baby food was invented in 1938. If you really think about it, right now, our dogs eat better than our babies do, which is nuts to me. And one of the things we say is that it's baby food that even you would eat. And the craziest thing is every time we show investors and we put food in front of them, they go to taste it, and they taste it and go, oh my God, it tastes good. Can you imagine that the headset from the start was that my baby's food is going to taste like crap? But still, you know what? I'm going to feed it to him. Just feed it to him and feed it to him. It's horrendous. I've never seen anything. Huge market, no disruption. And so this is disruption text to buy. And then we've got, Justine's come on to be CEO. We've got a great team. But Open Message, who is really the future of conversational commerce, as well as visual design for messaging. If you don't know about them, check them out, openmessage.io. They are powering many of the invites that are going out across South by.
So I just want to make notice of this is how you market, ladies and gentlemen. This is how you market. The question was, if you guys remember, is how many companies are in your portfolio?
Bread Rock, bringing fresh bread to Americans across the world. Or Americans across the world. No, to people across the world.
Obviously, when a company is looking for access to capital, they're looking at who is investing in them. It's as important.
Hooch is here.
Yes, Hooch, what up?
Influential's here. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, but it's when I look at someone like yourself that has all these opportunities to bridge between your past professional life and now your current support for innovation and small businesses. How do you kind of balance the risk on both sides, right? Because, you're of course, you need to protect your investment. No. You need to eat. You need to see a return. You want to support the small businesses, but you also can't kind of rock the cradle too much with something like a PepsiCo or Kraft Brands.
Oh, we can rock the cradle, dude. I'm not worried about rocking the cradle. We're all about rocking the cradle. It doesn't matter. If you are not disrupting a category and we see an opportunity to disrupt the category, we're coming after that category. And by the way, we're coming and we're taking your best and brightest and bringing them along with us for the journey because the game is too short. And the one thing is I loved every single minute of sitting inside a large organization because I got to operate at scale. And we would do disruptive things, but only so far. And so now, in a weird way, and I also believe that there are a lot of marketers today who have a lot of great ideas who get stuck in places where it's not about how good your idea is, but it's about other pieces. And I think that there's a lot of talent that can still be unlocked and given the opportunity. And I never thought I would say this, but I do think we're on the verge of seeing another CPG company that could be the same scale as some of the largest in the world that are thinking different about how to connect with the consumer. Tomorrow we're doing an interview with Dirty Lemon, Text to Buy, that are building different types of relationship with consumers on totally vastly different scales. And I just think that is upon us. And so I love corporate America and love all the brands that we consult and work with when we do that kind of stuff. But at the same time, there are markets that need to be transformed and deserve to be transformed. And if we see an opportunity and we have a founder who's hungry enough to go get it, we're going to go after that, dude. There's no whole bars here, man. The consumer dictates what the opportunity is, dude, not the people who have been doing it for many years. And until we can get closer to the consumer and we can build businesses that can truly shift in real time based on what the consumer wants, then lunch is going to be eaten. And look, if we see lunch, we're hungry. Thank you.
So honestly, I do wish that we could go on for at least another 20, 30, 40, 2 days. But I know we are on a time limit over here. We got to get through a great program that's ahead of us. Bonin, I know you are famously available for people to contact you through Text Me Your Book. It has your phone number right on top of the...
646-759-1837. 646-759-1837. No, it doesn't really work. But anyway, you can find me online, too. I'm pretty simple. So, yeah. I'd love you to text me. I'm happy to tell you what we're doing at South by. Happy to share thoughts, share your ideas. We text with 50,000 people. We will find a way.
Is text the best way to reach you, or what are the other ways that people can follow
No
your
way
journey?
is good to reach me.
Fair enough.
But text is definitely a starting point. No, text is a good way to reach
What are other
us.
ways that we can follow your journey?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Look, text is great. LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. My dad, Life at 91. My dad just started his Insta account. What? So if he gets 4 million followers, he will be the oldest, most followed Instagram influencer in the world. But here's the kicker. If he gets 10,000, he'll be number 2. So look, in this case, I'm like, we'll settle for number 2, although we're shooting for number 1. So all I'm saying is follow Martin_Bough.
Martin_Bough.
You follow me through him. We're doing a lot there.
So everybody, if you want to come, we have the next Bellwether recordings is going to be in New York City, March 26th to 27th. It's a 2-day event. If you want more information on that, go to bellwetherculture.com and you can apply for access to that. It is a community of Bellwethers watching and inspired and being connected with one another. Bonin, I want to thank you so much for the work that you do, not only the time that you are spending here, of course, which I value tremendously, but for the overall work that you do to support the ecosystem that's here at South by and way beyond. It's really important, and it takes leaders like you and Bellwethers like you to really push it forward. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Let's give a huge round of applause, though, for Bellwether. I mean, the work you guys do, man. I was inspired when I first met you, and I'm excited to have been here with you. Anyway, guys, enjoy South by, and feel free to text us.
Cheers, y'all. Thank you.